And I think what I did originally was street, house number, and then you can add multiple fields. So then city and state, and then city. So you would put street and then city, and then if you're a new state or whatever, continue. Almost finished. Please find error. Don't know what that is. Continue. Maybe it needs to actually connect. Once you have all of your Spotio connected and working, you will get on your app, on your sheet, your first pin. So the first one will be in there. After you get your first one in there, if you get it working, again, this isn't a perfect video. It took me a week to do this. Hopefully you guys don't have to spend so much time on it. This video will help you. The first one will be in there. You have to go through and put one pin in each of the statuses on your Spotio. And the reason why is because later on when we do pivot tables, you need to have each status so that you can calculate your numbers correctly. So I'm going to assume that you get this thing working. I'm not going to waste any more time on this. It does work. You can see that it works when you go to your dashboard, and it'll basically say awesome, your Zap is running and saving you time, and you can see it here how it all works, you know, your dashboard, and that's that. So once it all checks out that it's working, the reason why we're getting those errors is because we didn't check it. Once it checks off, then it's working, and you got to make sure that your Zap is on here in the corner. Once you get your Zap on, done, you're ready to go on that part of it. So you have to continue with your alter. So we're altering some information still. Put your pins in. Your pins are going to come up here. Once you have all the pins, we have 11 different statuses. Once those statuses are all entered in, then we can continue to the next thing, which is to set up some pivot tables. Now, you basically, what I did is I had two separate sheets, one for each pivot table. Again, this sheet, this worksheet is this spreadsheet is our back end. So no one is going to really see this part of it except for whoever's programming it. So I have here the pins that we put in, and including the first one. You can notice that the date is different. And then here we have two other worksheets. Each worksheet I have set up with a what's called pivot table. My wife helped me with this part of it. She's so smart. You need to create a pivot table, which basically you do like either insert or one of these commands here. There's a way to do it, format data pivot table right there. So you put a pivot table in. Now you need two pivot tables, one for the date and one for the outcomes, and it's going to break it up by salesperson. If you look at the one that I've already filled out, it has the salespeople here and how many days they worked there. And then the other one I call outcomes, and this is the statuses, which we're going to get into in just a moment here. So, first, the date one, you're going to set it up. I have a high range here because I figured there's going to be more people that come on, and we'll have more salespeople and so forth. And so I keep a high range. The rows, add field, those are basically, we haven't done anything. Group by salesperson, order is ascending, sort by salesperson, and I have one here, show totals. Now this part is important. Summarize by count unique. That'll count how many days in your data that it shows up with a unique date. In this case, we would have 2. So you can see, 12/28, 7/28. So when you click on date, you should see 2. Lucas Spies has 2. Then, and again, the range is going to be, the report edit range is going to be sheet 1, because that's the name of the sheet that we made there. So you have to basically pulling the data from this sheet and putting it into this pivot table on this sheet. Okay, the next one, you're going to have to do an outcomes. This is going to be the statuses, and this is where we're going to manipulate the data so that it can be converted into a format that we can use, which is the Rodney Webb format. So in this one, again, it's a pivot table. I don't know why it doesn't show the, there we go. Here's a report editor. You're going to have the 11 statuses. Now this is why you had to go through and put a separate pin in for each status that you have, because you need all of these in order to create these numbers so that they get manipulated right. And we'll get into that in a second. You need all these 11 statuses. So get the report editor so that it's right. Sheet 1, A1 to D1100 roughly, whatever it is. It's a high number in case we add more people, add more statuses and pins and so forth. So every pin is going to be another status. So we have to do that. Rows, add field, group by status, order is ascending, sort by status. Columns, add field, group by salesperson, order is ascending, sort by salesperson. Values, add field, summarize by count A. So this will count up the number of statuses that each salesperson had in each status. So like Lucas Spies had, 1, 1, 1, 1, those are 11 pins. Now if I had 2 demos sold, that would be 2, and then so forth. Each salesperson, it will go through the list. So if you look at the one that has some data in it, here's the sheet 1. Now you can see that there are a number of different sales reps that have sold, different dates, different statuses, and so forth. The status table, outcomes that I call, you can see it's a whole bunch of different numbers and we got to try and make sense of. So, Kevin had a demo sold, demo unsold, 9 follow-ups, some not interested, and there's the totals. Here's Liz, and she had some follow-ups and so on, and all the way down. And then we got the totals. So it'll take the number of different statuses that it counts out on this sheet here. It'll pivot that information in the pivot table and change it so that we can use it. Okay. Once you have that, you then need to. So then you're going to have a table full of information as it starts compiling in your system when people are adding pins in the Spotio. So you need to be able to change that data into one that we can use. Now, you already have the number of days that were worked that were counted in the date table. And so you can see one that looks like it's filled out. Kevin worked 5, Liz 4, and so on. So you have the date part of it. The outcomes is what we need to really focus on. Now there are 8 numbers. When you look at Rodney's table, besides the door knock, there are 8 numbers that you need to focus on. Number of doors knocked, number of face-to-face, number of inspections, number of damages, number of demos, number of contingencies, number of upgrades, and a final contract is to turn good. So you need to get those numbers. And then we're going to plug them into here. We're basically going to pull them in. So, like I said, it's two separate spreadsheets. So you have one that I call video alter, one that I call video convert. Video alter is going to be, we need to finish this up, the calculations. Number of doors knocked is pretty easy. You just take the grand total for each person. So if you look at the one that we got all the data on, you just would take the outcomes here, the 40, the 80, the 18, 32, and so on. The face-to-face is where we have to start doing some calculations. What we've done here is we have some statuses that are related to the system and some that are to help salespeople understand where they are in the process. Now, it's very important to note that this is broken up into 3 processes. I mentioned that before, and we're going to go back to it. The number of doors knocked until how many houses have damaged. That is usually done at the same time, according to Rodney Webb's system. You're doing the door knock pitch, you go out there, you shoot a video, and you're gonna, you do the walk away, you get up on the roof, you find out there's damage, and then you shoot the video. So that'll take you from the door knock all the way to the damage on your first visit. Then, when you get a demo until you get the upgrade sold is another visit. And then the turn good is the last one. The reason why we want to do that is because we want to maintain the percentages. We want the inspection percentage to be accurate. It's very, very critical. And we want the closing rate to also be accurate. It's very, very critical. Now, it's important to note that when you put a pin in or you update a pin, let's say you go out and you update a pin, it basically prints it on here. So it doesn't go back and modify the pin that you already put, it just puts a new one at the bottom. There's the one that I modified, that I updated. You can see that it just put another one on the bottom. So we don't want to throw off the percentages by having 2 different, every time you change the status, that it doesn't take it into account the way it should, because it's just a computer. So the way that we do that is I broke it up into a few different steps. So face-to-face is going to be, on your first visit, it's going to be basically how many were follow-ups, how many were inspected damaged, how many were inspected no damaged, how many were no solicitors, certainly not how many were not home because they weren't home, how many were not interested, and how many were renters. So you add up all those numbers according to the cells, and you put it in face-to-face. Then you're going to have how many were inspections. This is going to be how many were inspected damaged and inspected no damage. And then damages are going to be the number of damage. It means you went up, shot a video, and it's got damage. You obviously have to go back for the 2-legged appointment. The number of demos is going to be 3 numbers. How many you actually sold, so we call it demo sold. How many you didn't sell, means you went and ran a demo and they didn't buy for whatever reason. And how many sold upgrades. So I'll compile those 3 numbers. Number of contingencies is just going to be 2 numbers. It's going to be the number of demos sold and the number that had upgrades on them. And then the upgrades is only going to be the number of upgrades. And then the builds is going to be the number of builds. And that's it. That's how I came up with it. So once you have all these numbers, basically these formulas in here, you can copy and paste them. That's what these zeros are. Those are just the formulas copied and pasted. And it's nice because then as you add more people, as pins go in from different people, it will start to build your list out. So then that will finish your altering step. Now you have to convert it because it needs to go into the percentages for the Rodney Webb system. So here is where you start to do some other updates. You basically have to use the import range function. So right now you have You have a back end sheet that has your date, number of days that they worked, and your outcomes, the statuses, number of statuses that they have for people according to Rodney Webb numbers: face-to-face inspections, demos, contingencies, upgrades, and builds. You got to put it into the format that we can use, which is the Rodney Webb sheet. So you get a blank sheet, you upload it into your Google Sheets, and you'll have the one that you have here and the one that we call Video Convert. It'll pull this one up, and you got to start entering some data in. And the function that we use is called the import range function. It basically goes equals import range plus a unique key. This key is found on the other spreadsheet. That's in parentheses, or not parentheses, quotation marks. Then there's a comma, there's another quotations, and the name of the sheet that you're pulling data from, in this case outcomes, an exclamation point, and then the cell that it's coming from, another quotation and parentheses. That's basically how it works. You should be able to see that. If you can't see that or whatever reason, Google how to do import range. That's how this function works. This unique key is very, very important, and we're going to get that from our other sheet. So basically, in the video alter, you go to the outcomes, and you can click in this the URL, and it's basically, you can see docs, google.com, spreadsheets, and then this number 1PNTEU, like weird, right, all the way to the n/. That's it. So you copy that, you go to your Video Convert, you highlight your other amount, your other one here, and you put it in, and there's another slash there, and then it will update. Now it'll say that you need to connect the sheets. You have to allow access, and then you can see there's my name. Now you actually have to go through each cell and program it. The work days per week is going to be, you go back to the video alter, click on date, that's this one here. So again, it's going to be the same unique sheet, and the cell is going to be B2. So you go to the video